Welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man with more job security than Pete Carroll. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing great. Kind of a slow Black Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Felt like it trickled into Tuesday and Wednesday more so than even Monday or Sunday if you're Arthur Smith. But um, you
right.
know, yeah. Outside of that, it's like we're still waiting on some of these jobs to have decisions. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, it seems like everything except for Monday is where things are happening. So, been a weird situation. But while maybe we'll give our thoughts on that. We have a fun show, a hashtag fun show, if you will, here as we have we're going to preview the wild card games. Excuse me, Kyle, the Super Wild Card Weekend. It's not just Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, we have to quantify this properly. It is the greatest. It is the best. It's the Super Wildcard Weekend. We got a game on Peacock. We do not have a game on Nickelodeon. It seems like this year, which is disappointing. But we ride, and I think we're all excited for this. It is playoff time. This has been a weird season, and it still feels wide open. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to the postseason we have in front of us.
Yeah, Derek in the chat says, "Who's your guys' Super Bowl picks?" I think Bucks Steelers, right? That's where most people are going.
Bucks Steelers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the betting favorite right now.
yeah, I think so. We'll get into who we have at least winning all of these games. Do you want to just jump into it,
Yeah, let's do it. We got 6 games to cover.
Kyle? Things are going well for you in the picks, right?
Had a good couple weeks in a row. You actually did pretty well last week. I think you only missed one game, right? Um,
Possibly, but I think I doubled down on it.
yeah, you did. But yeah, so I feel things are going well for me. I feel like I'm in the driver's seat here. I got the with the scoring changes here in the playoffs. I gotta lock in. This is clutch time, baby.
Yes, I should set up how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna go just in no particular order, just in probably do the games that I find more interesting first. We're kind of in the betting stage. What you do each have 12 points to on a specific game. You have to bet at least 1 point on each game, but you can bet you're gonna bet more on certain games. If you get the game correct, then no points added to your score. If you get the game wrong, all the points that you put onto the game that gets added to your scores. So this is this is where the seasons are won or lost. Much like the NFL regular season, the goal is to just not have a disaster. Once you get here, this is where you have to really be at the top of your game.
Yeah, and I think I've lost several seasons by basically getting one wrong in the playoffs or two wrong in the playoffs. So all of these picks matter when it comes to our scoring, which nobody else cares about, but we do. So I hope everyone's just as invested as we are.
Yeah, I think there's like 6 other people that are really invested.
6 other people?
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be 6 if we're lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Which hey, it's nice to have just anyone interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess we're up.
Yeah, right. All right. Where do you want to go first? You want to go with the let's go. Let's do Chiefs Dolphins. Why don't we? I think this is in many ways the marquee matchup. It's the Peacock game. Chiefs Dolphins. It's the game that obviously Tua, who was an MVP candidate at one point during the season, Mahomes, who has won 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowl MVPs at this point. Loser of this game is going to kind of have a loser of this game is going to feel like this is a terrible season. That's just, there's no getting around it. With the expectations both these teams had at certain points this year. Kyle, who are you picking to win, and how many points are you putting on it?
Yeah, so I'm wagering 1 point. I had 3 games listed as 1 point bets, and this is one of them. Just I think I had one game that I had a little bit of tougher time picking. I think this one, the difference though with this one is I think both of these teams kind of figure if they win this game, they have a shot at winning the Super Bowl, and this is this might be their biggest hurdle. I went with the Chiefs again. I think their defense is better than Miami right now. I think Miami's injuries are piling up in the worst time of the year. I think that Miami has struggled to throw the ball the last few weeks, and now they got to go into Arrowhead and throw the ball on this Chiefs secondary, which has played very well this year. There was a lot of people very upset about people not including L'Jarius Sneed in their hypothetical All-Pro ballots, and he hasn't had a good year. So I think he's been good. And he and Trent McDuffie are very good. So that is a tough secondary to throw on. And if Miami is not on their absolute game, I think that's going to be a tough matchup for them. So give me the Chiefs here. I'm wagering 1 point though.
People really would have had L'Jarius Sneed over Johnson or DeRon Bland.
Well, and then I had Sauce third.
Uh-huh.
Like,
But still.
so I think like Next Gen or something put a stat up that he didn't allow a touchdown.
Well,
Without
in that
any
case,
context.
yeah, bro. What am I doing then?
Yeah, without a context of like what was the coverage, what was his responsibilities or anything like that. It was just that he didn't allow a touchdown, which is good. And like I said, he is a good player, but you know, it's not like he's playing man to man on the number one guy and all of a sudden, I don't know. It's being pedantic, but at the same time, he did have a very good season. And he is a very talented corner, so I don't want to like rag on him or anything. He's a very good second team All Pro candidate for me.
Yeah, he's a great player. I don't know. Everyone wants their players on there. If everyone got to choose, if there was many All Pros as people wanted there to be, half the league would be All Pros.
Yeah, this is like the all-star snub thing, like especially in like NBA. It's like, oh, he's an all-star snub, and it's like, okay, name one of the 12 guys that made it that you're taking off. Like,
You're right, exactly.
Because then that guy's
easy
the
to say
first
who got snubbed, but who do you take off in their place then?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think it's he is a good player though, and I think this is going to be this Chiefs defense is still playing really well. Another guy who might be an All-Pro candidate, Chris Jones, is still obviously in the middle there, and I mean, honestly, like I feel like when Miami's looked at their best, like I just did all this stuff about their passing game, and their passing game is what their bread and butter, right? They're this Tua, quick passing, find Tyreek Hill quickly, hit him in stride, him and Jalen Waddle. That's their MO. But I feel like Miami's best games this season is where they've been able to run the ball. And I think they're going to have to run the ball in this game because, it's very hard to throw on the Chiefs just in general. And when they get Achane and Mostert rolling, it's just almost impossible of a scenario to defend this Dolphins team because, it's just the two-pronged attack is better than one, even if that one in their passing game is so electric. So if they're able to establish the running game against this one, and not to mention the added influence of that keeps Mahomes off the field, that keeps the Chiefs off the field, I think that's going to be their path to winning this game. I just don't know if they can do it against this Chiefs team because this team is top 10 EPA against the run and the pass. And there's just good players around this entire roster.
Yeah, the Chiefs are weird because like their overall like PFF isn't a big fan of their roster. Like they don't have them graded that well in a lot of the defense, but like obviously the results are the results, and maybe it's just coaching. I don't know, but I mean, again, the results are the results. I agree, and Miami seemed to have success when they ran the ball the first time they played because these teams played each other in Germany. And remember, that was the game that I kind of came away to saying like, man, Miami was way better than Kansas City in that game, but Kansas City won it handedly. Was kind of how I felt about it, and I did go back and watch that game, and I do think that there is opportunities to run the football, and also, I mean, Tua just missed plenty of throws in that game that I'm not expecting him to miss, and like Tyreek Hill had like a deep shot that was just dropped, so like again, it's not going to go exactly the same way that time, and I'm sure Kansas City had mistakes of their own, but like there's ways to move the ball. I don't know if they're going to move the ball super consistently, but again, their offense this season second best in points per drive. I know that people are talking about them losing to Buffalo. I get it, but like, I don't know, maybe Buffalo's just a bad matchup for them.
Yeah. And by the way, I did have that wrong. I read my notes wrong. Chiefs are bottom 10 rushing EPA defensively and top 10 passing EPA.
That makes sense.
Or actually, I think they're top 3. And a lot of that is schematic. They don't want to give up the big plays. But yeah, so I mean, that's the thing though, is that, going back and looking at that game earlier in the year, because that was the London game, right? Like the biggest play of the game was the Germany. Thank you. Yes, the biggest play of that game was the fumble return for the touchdown, right? And like that flipped basically everything. I mean, that was the difference in the game. It was a one-score game, and I don't know, like that. I think that's my biggest worry because, like you said, Tua missed throws in that game, and you don't expect that from him. And for the most part this year, he's been pretty consistently doing that. But I also think of the last few weeks, he's missed throws in the last few games as well. And, especially if you talk about that Buffalo game, I thought there was some really badly missed throws in that game too. So, is he going to be able to rise to the occasion? Because there is this stigma on Miami. Can they win these big games, especially on the road in this environment? how is he going to handle that situation? Is he going to be rattled? I know he's played for national championships, SEC championships, big rivalry games. He's played in, just about everything. But this is a tough matchup. This is a tough environment. And, he hasn't looked his best at the biggest moments of the year this year. So I do think it is worthy of a question.
Speaking of Tua, Kyle, as someone just brought up in the chat, I fact checked this. This is true. Nick Saban has retired. Nick Saban has been announced. Adam Schefter has, confirmed it. Nick Saban out as head coach.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing with Alabama, I guess, is that they were, it's always been kind of alluded to that it was going to happen eventually. Obviously he's in his 70s. He's not going to coach forever.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing to me is like they long were trying to find like a backup plan for it. And like for a while it was supposed to be Sarkisian, who's at Texas. So, it'll be interesting to see who they go for next and how that's replaced.
Belichick?
I don't think it's Belichick. I think like a big splash college hire is more likely. Like Dabo Sweeney or a what's the Penn State's guy's name? Oh my gosh, James Franklin. Thank you. So yeah, I think those are like guys I'd look at. I don't see Belichick wanting to recruit.
No, I was just joking, but yeah, I guess Alabama really could get any coach they wanted, right? Like they can pick whoever, like Jim Harbaugh. They have the money, whoever they want, they can have.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I guess they could technically get Harbaugh. I don't see it happening, but I don't know. They have the money, they have the resources, they have the pedigree, and it's probably the number one job in college football. So yeah.
Yeah, well, crazy stuff there. So back to the Dolphins and the Chiefs. The other aspect is like the Chiefs are just so interesting. So Miami did a great job the first time of taking away Travis Kelce. Kelce only had like 20 yards in that game. Like he was basically non-existent. They were double teaming him as much as possible. And honestly, they had single on matchups, and just Miami has good safeties, like they have like underrated safeties. Like it was like Deshaun Elliott was like pretty much shutting Kelce down when they were one-on-one. So like it's just kind of a good matchup that way. And obviously with, Rashee Rice has kind of really become that number one option, but can he get open consistently against Ramsey? And of course, Ramsey played on Kelce a good chunk as well in that game. So I do think Miami is, again, the Vic Fangio hire. We talked about it as a huge addition, and I do think that's really going to come into play here. I realized I didn't give my pick. I'm going Miami. I picked Miami to win this one. I'm going 25-22 Miami Dolphins.
25-22 Miami Dolphins. I think I'll lean 21-17 Chiefs. I agree with you too, with like all that stuff. Elliott and Holland are really good. Ramsey's obviously fantastic. All that stuff really works for Miami defensively. Obviously, I think Xavier Howard's listed as doubtful, so that's obviously a matchup problem. I think the one thing I'm worried about with Miami in this game, compared to the last time they met, is the pass rush. I think that's a huge part in this game. Jalen Phillips on IR, Bradley Chubb on IR, Andrew Van Ginkel on IR. You're basically left with Christian Wilkins, whatever's left of Melvin Ingram, Emmanuel Ogbah. Like, that's not a great position to be in. And we know what Mahomes can do when he's able to buy time. And I just think he's going to buy all the time in the world in this game. And they might cover well downfield. And I think part of the problem we've seen with Kansas City is even when Mahomes buys a ton of time, guys still struggle to get open, right? Yeah. So, maybe they do just still shut him down and cover it really well. But I'm always going to bet on the math there that says, if you're giving a guy, if a quarterback's able to buy himself 5-6 seconds, even 4 or 5 seconds, someone's more likely to get open than not. And I don't trust this receiving group for Kansas City, obviously. Like, this has been pretty well established by basically the entire league. But can they just make enough plays to get out of this game and ride their defense? I think that's definitely a possibility.
I see it. I almost wonder if Miami just blitzes a lot in this game. Try to get pressure, might be the move. Try to get pressure that way and try to also keep him in the pocket that way.
Potentially, but that's usually not what you want to do against Mahomes, right? Like
usually, but this year, again, this year has been a different year, right? Because he doesn't have usually. For the longest time, it's because then you're leaving Tyreek Hill one-on-one. Now he's on the other team.
Right. Or, Kelsey's going to find a mismatch quickly. And,
Right.
Kelsey's been a step slower. And, it's also you probably are going to be able to still get some wins against Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith, even though we just listed all those defensive ends that are out. So
Yeah.
all of that put together means it feels like a toss up. And, it's we're just gonna burn with this Chiefs team. I feel I'm gonna burn with this Chiefs team. I'm gonna
Hmm.
ride this ship until the end. Like it's just so hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid, no matter how it's looked. The on-field product and at their best, absolutely. I think Miami has looked infinitely better this year. I think they've looked way better at their best than Kansas City at their best this season. And Kansas City's best game was when like the Bears were broken. So that's absolutely the truth. But at the same time, like I don't know if I'm going to see either team's best. I don't know if either team's playing their best, and I still just am going to trust Mahomes and Andy Reid in that spot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you. I get it. I think these are two teams that are very much interesting. I put them both in the if they get hot tier in my playoff tier rankings. So I think they're both both quality teams that have a chance to win it all if they can put it all together. One last thing before we move on. People have brought it up in the chat. Yeah, I looked at the weather forecast, Kyle. Looks like it's supposed to be around -3 at kickoff. Is that concerning?
Yes.
Hmm.
That would be a big concern for me for Miami because
Oh,
this
actually, I
team,
read it wrong. About a +2. Oh, that's way better.
yeah, and potentially snow the day before. I was gonna say, so the Midwest, like, I'm in Dallas, so it's supposed to be really cold here too. So I can't imagine what it's gonna be like up there. It's not that far. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, this is gonna be cold, and that I mean, regardless of that, has to play in the Chiefs' favor. Can you imagine getting hit by Isaiah Pacheco with like the animal style run he has? Like that's gonna be painful.
Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't be great. I do have to also mention, Kansas City Chiefs players also aren't going to like getting hit in the cold. I feel like sometimes we act like people that live like in a northern area are just like immune to the like. It's going to affect both teams.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah,
Sure, but
you're
who's
right.
more
It's
resilient to it? That's the question.
yeah. I
And I
think
also
if they were
think the
playing in a
Chiefs.
dome, this is what's the line here? Like -2.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think the Dolphins haven't proven that they're resilient to it. Is the thing. Like I
Hmm.
know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. This is a big test for Miami, obviously, round one. And part of the reason why that last game of the year is so deflating is like You
Yeah.
know, you had it set up to get a favorable matchup round one, play at home, and now you're traveling to Arrowhead and you have to play in 2 degrees.
Yeah, it's tough, but hey, and we just solved the Texas Rangers, right? Just because at the end of the day, worse seeding doesn't guarantee that you're going to be screwed. Let's move on though, because we got a lot to talk about. Let's go to how about Rams Lions? This is the Stafford versus Goff storyline is obviously kind of what's taken the main headlines. Game that I think I quickly previewed on our last show, saying there's going to be 1,000,000 points scored here. Kyle, again, you're leading, so you go first. Who are you picking to win and how many points?
Yeah, so I'm wavering on this one a lot too. I have this as 1 point. You know, the Lions have played pretty good football to end the year. Now, grant like their three best games to end the season were non-playoff teams, and they lost to the Bears just before that. So maybe I take it with a grain of salt. But I thought things looked a lot better. I still think this offense is going to get its own. It's going to get its points no matter
Hmm.
what, and I think that's what I have to lean on if I'm picking Detroit. But I'm not going to pick Detroit. I'm going to pick the Los Angeles Rams. I still am betting on Stafford, Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, Kyron Williams. That depth of options and talent on offense, I just think is going to win out in this game. And if it's a shootout, I'm trusting Stafford in that spot to not turn the ball over, which is crazy because he does turn the ball over sometimes.
Hmm.
Not turn the ball over as much as Jared Goff. Be smarter with the ball than Jared Goff. And I just think those are big things that Stafford has in his wheelhouse. I think Sean McVay is going to also equally be able to scheme up plenty of plays for his team. Um, and I think the Rams have what it takes to win this game and pull off this upset. So give me the Rams.
We're in lockstep here. It feels like everyone's picking the Rams to upset the Lions. This is like the one upset that I remember a couple years ago when it was the Niners Cowboys and the Cowboys were favored by 3, but everyone picked the Niners anyway. This one feels like it's that one kind of situation. I'm with you. I have the Rams 34-31. Here's why we should be afraid of picking against Lions, Kyle. We talked about this Lions passing offense and how good it's been. PFF has the Rams coverage unit ranked as the 31st in football. So that's a concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few things I think in this game too. Like CJ Gardner-Johnson came back the last week of the season. He's playing now. And I mean, I could see, I thought it was a huge difference compared to when he played to when he didn't play with this Lions defense. You have him, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch back there. You know, you still have Cameron Sutton. I think that raises the ceiling of this defense. But I just don't know if I trust it to get a ton of stops in this game. And if they're not able to get stops, then, you know, it could be anyone's game. So, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely concern what this coverage unit is for the Rams against this Lions offense. But I also think that I'm concerned about the Lions defense against the Rams offense. You know, I'm not, you know, my concerns is that both sides are going to put up a ton of points.
Yeah, and it does feel like if a turnover or two could be the difference, you know, winning a turnover battle. And again, we do tend to trust Stafford more than Goff, even though again, Goff's turnover worthy play rate better than Stafford's this season. But again, I think a lot of that is if you can get Goff off his game, that's where good things can happen for the Rams. You know, it's fascinating. I do think. I mean, if you were to design a defense that Sean McVay's scheme could pick apart, it's the Lions defense, right? I mean, this is exactly like everything they try and do. Sean McVay's just made a living off of destroying this stuff. I don't trust their linebackers in this, which is such a big aspect of what you need to do to beat, a McVay-led team. Like, you know, that Patriots Super Bowl, like it was like Dante Hightower, like, you know, being able to shut things down over the middle. Like, I like Alex Anzalone a bit. He's not going to do that.
No, he's not the same caliber guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's a tough matchup for them, and they're just gonna find ways, I think, to get on the outside. And you know, Sutton may have success against Cup or Nakua, whatever they try to do, but I don't know if it's just gonna be enough consistently. I don't know.
Like, I would not love that matchup if I'm a Lions fan. I think that part of why I'm picking the Rams is exactly because Sutton might be going up against Cup or Nakua.
You have to hope so. That's the problem. You paid him that. You paid him to be that guy.
I guess so, but I mean, it hasn't worked out this year.
Right. No, I agree. But I also think that is because a lot of guys around him have also gotten hurt. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, you know, they absolutely should be able to attack this defense, right? And, you know, we've seen what McVay can do. And, you know, not only that, like, I think they'd be able to run on this team too. Like, Kyron Williams has been, like, we did our all-pro. We only did one team. Like, it's not crazy to say Kyron Williams is an all-pro second-team running back this year.
Yeah.
Like, he's also been really impactful for this team. Never mind what Nakua has done as the an offensive rookie of the year candidate, and what Cooper Kupp has done just, you know, throughout his career. You know, I don't think it's been his best season, but you have all that at your disposal against a weaker defense. And yeah, I don't see a reasonable way to say the Lions are actually going to shut them down other than some bad Stafford turnovers. And, you know, maybe that does happen. Maybe that does happen and they create some mistakes. Aiden Hutchinson can obviously make some big plays, but this Rams offense has been really good. And this Rams offensive line has been really good. The running back game has been good. And the passing game has been really good. And I just don't know if the Lions are equipped to stop that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is the Lions can potentially win this one as well. Is their defense has generated turnovers. They have gotten to splash plays, and that's kind of maybe a way you can make this happen. And you know, again, we haven't brought his name up yet on the other side, but Aaron Donald is playing in this game. Like, listen, the Lions' offensive line has been, you know, great this season, but Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. You know, I brought up Kobe Turner, the you know, other interior defensive lineman who I picked as my pick for the defensive rookie of the year this season last episode. So they can make plays on the inside. And the other aspect I think is really important is the running game, because on paper, this is a game where like neither team should run the ball at all, right? Like just keep throwing against each secondary. Like that should be the mindset. But these are two teams that love to run the ball. And I kind of am wondering which team is going to maybe come in with more of a philosophy of like, you know, if the running game isn't working early on, who abandons it first? Because I do think both stand a chance at stopping each other's run.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they definitely stand a chance, but I don't know how consistently they're going to do it. Like, and honestly, I think the big factor of this too is like, I don't think Sam Laporta is going to play. And if you're limiting the number of weapons that Detroit has, like, that they're probably going to try and rely on Gibbs and Montgomery a little bit more. Never mind having, I think, the lesser quarterback in this spot having to play in this game. I think that's also going to play a factor in wanting to run the ball. And, you know, I don't know. I just think all of that kind of plays a factor in this game. Stafford and McVay, they've been in these spots before. I think they're going to be okay in this one. And, I just trust their kind of poise and composure. And, speaking of poise and composure, like Dan Campbell is aggressive. I think 90%, 99% of the time, Dan Campbell's aggressiveness is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as we saw even in that Dallas game, he can be aggressive to a fault at sometimes.
Yeah.
And, is he going to push the right buttons in this game, or is he going to try and like make an early statement and it backfires? I think all of that can kind of play a factor in this game.
Narratives would be out if he goes for it on fourth and doesn't get it, and that could create something. What, you're not buying into Brock Wright, the backup tight end here?
No, I didn't know his name before the show, to be honest.
Yeah, it's crazy. Has their second most snaps at the tight end position with just 425. Sam Laporta has nearly 1,000 snaps this season. Like, and he was what, like a 4th round pick? Or he was a 2nd round pick. I didn't realize he was that high, but I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I don't know. Having a rookie tight end, they really lucked out with him being as good as he was right away.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he's been awesome. But yeah. I mean, even then, like, yeah, I do think they're going to run the ball a little bit more because of that with Gibbs and Montgomery. I'm really curious to see how that looks in the red zone is my big thing, because I think Laporta was a big part of that. Having him on fantasy on both teams this year, getting the touchdowns was nice. But like in a vacuum, like I like, Jameson Williams, I don't think has worked out quite to what we've hoped, but I think he's still pretty good and pretty explosive. I think Josh Reynolds always consistently has some big catches. Khalif Raymond has had moments in the league. Like, they still have weapons at receiver, but how does that factor into the red zone? Is it going to be Amon-Ra or bust when it comes to the inside the 20-yard line? And if the Rams are able to survive that, because you mentioned their coverage unit is going to give up plays in this game. But in a game where I imagine both teams are going to move the ball, winning inside the 20-yard line is going to be huge for both defenses. And can the Rams win inside the 20 defensively at least a couple times? Hold them to field goals, because, field goals are going to be like basically worth no points in this game.
Right, exactly. Should be an awesome game. I think this one's going to come down to the wire. I can see it going either way. That is the Sunday night game, which is a lot of fun. Again, Matt Stafford. If the Lions lose to Matt Stafford, I mean, we didn't even talk about that. If the Lions finally get a home playoff game and Stafford comes in and beats them, I mean, that's just, that'd be
deflating.
devastating.
Yeah.
What
do you do with that? Like,
I don't know, because like if the Rams, if you lose to Jared Goff, it's like, well, whatever. Like, we knew we were getting the older guy. Like, because we gave them draft picks as well, they were able to rebuild and build a better team and layer. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah,
I agree.
Well, let's move on. 4 games to talk about. Let's go Eagles Buccaneers. Kyle, it's looking like I'm going to go to this game. You brought it up on the Sunday show, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So yeah, my brother and I are probably going to go.
There you go. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I get credit if you guys win while you're there. Because
do you also get the blame if we lose?
No.
Okay.
No, that's just the team factor. So
okay, yeah, sure, understandable. Yeah. No, it should be this is another one that could be. I think a lot of people are predicting to be a very close game. Where are you going?
I also view it as a close game. I know what they did earlier in the season, and the Eagles kind of handled that game. It was only a 14-point game, but it felt like a pretty big Eagles win. They kind of overwhelmed, I thought, the Bucs at times. But that was also week 3. Like, I don't know how much is taken in consideration for that. And I mean, this looks like a wildly different Eagles team, just, straight up. So I'm still going to take Philadelphia. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. But I just think there's enough there to get it done and kind of right the ship maybe a little bit offensively and figure some things out. But yeah, I'm not like overly confident in it. I don't love the way they've looked, obviously, the last few weeks. So, but give me the Eagles to win this one still and win a close one.
I'm with you. I went Eagles 22 bucks 20. I went just 1 point on it. That's you did 1 point as well.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Yeah. So yeah, neither one of us feel really confident. But the week 3 matchup, again, how much do you take into week 3? I pay attention to that stuff. I do. The Eagles, they, it is worth mentioning in that game. Tampa Bay was missing Carlton Davis to start the game, and then Jamel Dean went down very early on that game. About their 2 best corners for most of it. So obviously that's going to kind of completely change have to go about things. The Eagles did run the ball very well in that game, which is definitely something to give you a little bit of a concern. Here's my concern, Kyle, and here's why I ultimately do have Philadelphia winning is we've seen Tampa Bay, when they go up against defensive line, they don't have a great interior offensive line at all. Tampa Bay doesn't. When they go up against teams with good defensive linemen, which even with the Eagles' run defense stats, like we saw it in the first game, I think we'll see it here, they struggle to run the ball. And if you struggle to run the ball, even when you're playing a team with cover 2, like this is the situation that the Eagles try to create. It's why they looked so good defensively against Tampa Bay last time. And when and we'll talk about injuries in a second, but like that's definitely something that I'm worried about.
I agree because we did see the blueprint in the last time these two teams played, and like you said, that defensive line, I think it's been pretty inconsistent this year, and somewhat disappointing based on how our expectations of them. But I also think in like a 1-game format, that defensive line's still capable of overwhelming people. I think it's over a course of a season that it seemed like these guys are starting to get a little bit tired, and if these guys are rested up and ready to go, I think that there's too much talent and physicality with this group, with Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, to be able to win on the inside, like you said, against this Tampa Bay offensive line, which hasn't always been the best. And yeah, so especially on that interior part, if they're struggling against this group, I think it's going to be a long day. And I think Tampa Bay's path to winning, which is kind of not what they want to do, is throwing the ball in the secondary and giving Mike Evans a lot of chances.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really a game that I feel like Tampa Bay's coaching staff's comfortable playing.
Yeah. The one thing I would give credit to Todd Bowles over the years tends to do a pretty good job at, if he plays a team one time in a season and it goes poorly, tends to do a pretty good job at adjusting. He does a good job at he doesn't make the same mistake twice very frequently. So I do wonder if you can see him kind of correct some of those mistakes, specifically defensively. Not that there wasn't a ton of mistakes as much as it was they couldn't cover. What are you going to do? And they couldn't stop the run. I do think, though, another aspect of that first game, a lot of miscommunications. Again, it was week 3, Baker Mayfield playing with these guys for pretty much the first time. Like, that was a big factor as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a whole new system. So I don't know how much I can take from it, but I do think that some of that still rings true. But I mean,
yeah.
Just talking about it as a whole, like this Philadelphia defense has been awful.
Yeah.
Just awful. From week 11 to 18, they were the second worst team in fourth worst team in defensive EPA. They've been the second worst coverage unit since week 11. And their full season stats just haven't even been good either. This team can't cover. They can't cover. And, I think a lot of it too has to do, I think a lot of people like to blame the linebackers, which I think is partially justified. They can't cover the middle of the field. But I think as a whole, like, James Bradbury hasn't been that good this season when he's played. Darius Slay hasn't been as good this season. I think it's gotten worse across the board. It's not just one individual position.
Yeah, exactly. I think Darius Slay's looked all right this season, but I don't think he's been as good as he usually is, and everyone else just looked bad pretty much. So yeah, I'm with you with all of this, but again, the issue is, will it matter? Because will Tampa Bay just run up the middle for every other play?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you said, Bowles has adjusted, it seems like, in rematches, but he's got to be able to get out of his comfort zone in this game. You can't run in first and second down and then make it easy on Philadelphia to pin their ears. But they got, between Hassan Reddick and all these guys, they got too many pass rushers to get into that sort of rhythm, make it easy on them. And this is the group to attack. You attack this team throwing the ball. And I think if Tampa Bay is willing to do that, I think there's a chance. But a whole other factor of that is, how healthy is Baker Mayfield in this game? How healthy is he going to be playing in this game? And can he be effective throwing the ball a lot?
The health of several players is going to be very key. Obviously Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay, he just did not. I mean, he was coming off of an injury, and he played terrible against Carolina. Maybe those are unrelated, but it seems likely that the injury affected him, and he wasn't able to perform very well against the Panthers. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, last week Devonta Smith was out, AJ Brown went down in that game, and Jalen Hurts hurt his finger, in that game. Now, it seems like I would expect all three to still play, but to what level? And again, if you have a healthy Buccaneers secondary versus a banged up Eagles receiving core, are they able to throw the ball down the field? Both teams got a couple turnovers last time as well. I can see this being another one of those games where it's like if one team wins the turnover battle 2-0, it could get away from the other team in a hurry because these defenses have their issues.
Yeah. I mean, there is a real chance of that, and they both teams have to take care of it. I mean, I still think Philadelphia is built to win, win even if they lose the turnover battle in a way. But Tampa Bay, I think absolutely is not, right? Like they cannot lose the turnover battle and win this game. They are really well equipped at winning the turnover battle, though. And I think part of it too is, you mentioned Jalen Hurts with his finger injury, even if he's not 100%, he has to be smart with the football, which I just don't think he has been the last few weeks of the season. And, there are a lot of guys on that Tampa Bay secondary who are capable of creating turnovers. We mentioned Antoine Winfield last Sunday on the podcast and everything he's done this season. And, when they're healthy, I still think it's a good secondary. So, how he's able to attack that defense, we saw this team. It's a much different Jalen Hurts than what it was a few years ago when they met in the playoffs. But this defense, which is largely a lot of the same guys still, had a ton of success against Hurts in that playoff game.
Yeah, obviously no AJ Brown, but yeah, definitely a worth noting. Only other thing I really have on this game is the Matt Patricia factor. There's a new defensive coordinator, new guy calling plays for Philadelphia, and Patricia does love his cover one. He loves the blitz or send three, right? He likes to. Sometimes he'll do a cover one while sending three. He's a bit of a weird guy there, Patricia. Could there be some Mike Evans, Darius Slay one-on-one matchups, and then who can win those matchups? Could be interesting, just thing to know.
Yeah, that has to, if they lose this game and struggle defensively, that has to go down as one of the all-time worst coaching decisions mid-season, right?
I kind of but it was going so poorly before that. I kind of get it, it was definitely a break glass in case of emergency move, but the ship was sinking anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's almost as bad as hiring Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator. Now, who would
I was gonna say, or maybe, benching Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be bad too. Who would do that?
That'd be tough. That'd be tough. Let's move on. 3 games left. There's one more with a close spread, and then 2 with bigger spreads that I'm assuming a lot of our points are going to go on. Browns at Texans. These two teams played each other just like 3 weeks ago, although no CJ Stroud in that game, which kind of makes it interesting. But Kyle, where are you going? Does Houston keep their winning streak alive, or does Cleveland and Joe Flacco, January Joe? Are you betting against January Joe?
I can't bet against January Joe in good conscience. I've been on, I've been all in on CJ Stroud this season. I think he's had a fantastic year, but this Browns team can really cover, man. They are 4th in passing defense, I think, this season, EPA wise, and they've got their own stud corner too in Denzel Ward. They have all this stuff that they can throw at Houston, I think, offensively, which this team is built to win with their offense predominantly, although the defense has played pretty well this season. I think that Cleveland is poised to win this game, and I got Cleveland, and I got 2 points.
2 points on Cleveland, and that's obviously just to be clear to people in the chat, doesn't mean Kyle is saying they're going to win by 2 points. That's how much he's betting on the game. I am going Cleveland as well. Only betting 1 point on it, though. I'm not quite as confident as you are, but I'm still pretty confident. I think that I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm pretty confident. I think I'd like Cleveland in this game. Cleveland deserves to be favored. I am predicting, what was my score? 24-19. Cleveland over this. Like you said, I think the defense could give Houston some trouble. I do think we could get some Nico Collins matchups, and that's interesting to me. Obviously, no Tank Dell. I think that changes things, but could we, I think Sean might have to have a big player too to really get the ball down the field. And the flip side, so if you forgot, the last time these two teams played, sure, no CJ Stroud, but we still got to see the other side of the ball throughout. And it was Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper had like 260
Yeah.
yards in this game. He was a menace, and quite frankly, you have to think Houston is going to be doubling him every single play, right?
You have to, I think. I'm not betting on that happening again, but I also don't know how Houston stops it unless you said, like you said, they just go to full double teams because they did struggle in that game mightily containing him. So yeah, I think that's a huge matchup problem. And not only that, if you're doubling Amari Cooper, can the other guys, can the David Njokus and the Elijah Morris have big games in this one? And I think that's one of the things that have been surprising about Cleveland this season. Cooper's obviously had a very good season. But I have been impressed enough with the other guys, with Moore, with Njoku, to be able to make enough plays to at least diversify this passing.
You've been impressed with Moore?
He's been all right. I think he's been solid. He's had moments.
Njoku, I'll give you. I feel like they have a real issue outside of Cooper and Njoku. I
mean, Moore has had games where he's got like 70, 80 yards. I think that's what they need out of him.
Sure. I'm not saying. I think he's a depth player, not a number 3 option.
That's fair. Yeah, but I do think if he's in the right matchup in this game, and if they're going to put a lot of attention on Cooper, he's absolutely someone that I think can break off a couple big plays, right? And it's just going to be interesting to see how Houston manages that, because I think one of the things we were worried about when Deshaun Watson went down is just, not only that with Nick Chubb going down earlier in the year, like there's just not enough offensive weapons on this Cleveland team. And now it feels like they have those weapons, at least, playing good football. You still have, Jerome Ford is another guy who's capable of catching a pass and going 50, 60 yards. So they have a few different guys that they can go to. And, is Houston going to be able to contain it enough? I just don't think so.
Maybe. For me, I think for Houston, double Cooper every play, double Njoku a lot. And if Elijah Moore beats you, Elijah Moore beats you.
Yeah, that's probably the strategy.
Yeah.
But it is a strategy that could lose because, he still has talent.
Yeah. I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that one, Kyle.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I'm buying your Elijah Moore stock. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm selling.
And when he has three touchdowns on over the weekend, you'll hear from me. It's okay.
Okay. I could see him having a decent statistical day due to just the fact that they might not leave no one on him. They might just have all 7 guys in coverage on Njoku and Cooper.
That'd be bold.
Yeah, still probably better than what they did last time.
Yeah, I mean Cooper played like he had nobody covering him. So
yeah, no kidding. That was tough. Also, that was the weird game where they had Case Keenum and Davis Mills they were subbing out in between the game. Like it was like one drive Davis Mills, one drive Case Keenum.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess. I agree, but I don't know. Like, oh man, I just don't know. I think that this Cleveland defense is just too athletic to me. Like, I think they're going to be able to get after Stroud, and he's done really well this year, but that's a huge spot, and they're going to be able to cover and rush him. And how does he handle those extended plays? How does he handle buying time in those plays and making big plays with his feet? He's proven to be better at that than I think we all expected draft time. But how much of that can he continue to do in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there is an avenue for Houston winning, right? I think that we can paint the picture is like, they handle Cooper and Njoku better. Elijah Moore doesn't have 3 touchdowns, and they're able to win that way. Like that's the pathway. The question is just, are they going to be able to pull it off? And I think it's fair to say that with what Cleveland has done this season, especially defensively, they should probably be favored.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this defense, is this outside of Baltimore? Is this the best defense in the AFC?
I think it's the best defense in football. Cleveland's is. I think it's the best defense besides Baltimore's.
Yeah, that's probably true too. So, yeah, I mean, you can win a lot of games that way.
Yeah, man, maybe a playoff game should be fun. And again, this just feels right? The first playoff game being in Houston, like that's how it should be.
Yeah, Houston or Indianapolis, whoever makes the playoffs gets to host the Saturday afternoon game. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's or Cincinnati's not. They've graduated because of Joe Burrow. Like when Andy Dalton Cincinnati, that was also that worked, but now not anymore.
A lot of times it was Andy Dalton in Houston. It was like Andy Dalton and TJ Yates. Those
In
were
my
some
head, there
glorious
was like a
games.
10-year stretch where it was Houston versus Cleveland every year, the first Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah. I think it only happened like once or twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it wasn't 10. But let's move on. 2 games left to talk about. Packers Cowboys. What's been kind of an interesting rivalry almost as of late. As
Mhm.
Green Bay obviously has had some success. Not to mention the Mike McCarthy thing of him being with the Cowboys now was fired by Green Bay. So Dallas would like to win. Jordan Love red hot going up against a team. They're Cowboys favored by over a touchdown here. Kyle, who are you picking and how many points?
I got 5 points on this game. So
Wow.
I'm going all in on this one. I
That
am
confident in
going
Jordan Love, huh?
yeah, I am going to take the Dallas Cowboys. Look, Green Bay, I get it. Jordan Love has been, I mean, he's debatably been like a top 6-5 quarterback in the second half of the season. I mean, he has had a
Yeah.
really good run here. He's made some big plays. This is just a different animal, though. And I think the defense surprisingly played pretty well in that Bears game, but I think it's too. I couldn't think of two more different offenses between the Bears and the Cowboys, honestly. And, the Bears don't like to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage. The Cowboys do that a lot. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I think that they're going to struggle to cover this Dallas team. This Dallas team covers really well and forces turnovers. And I think when we've seen the bad Jordan Love, it's been because of turnovers and inconsistent throws. And I just think Dallas is going to find a way to dominate this game. So give me the Cowboys. I would probably take Cowboys in the points if we were betting line too. So I like them in this matchup.
Wow, I'm a little surprised you're so much more confident in this one than Steelers Bills, but I guess we'll get into that in a second. So again, I need to make up some ground here. So I think Dallas is going to win. My pick is Dallas is going to win. I picked 30-22 Packers. I'm just going to put 1 point on it though, just because I want to try and see if this way. Hopefully, I can make up some ground if it goes the other way because I'm down 8 points in the standings. So
Yeah.
that's my mindset there. I would have put more if it was tied or if I was in the lead on them probably. But I don't know. I can see Green Bay moving the ball. I think that's kind of the one thing you look at and say there is potential for them to be able to get some of these over the middle passes going, and for Jordan Love to be able to make some stuff happen. I think that that's the avenue right for a Green Bay victory. I think
That's what they have to
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what they have to hope on. And, obviously with Dallas missing a couple linebackers, Overshown and Van Der Esch are out. Obviously, I think that's what they're going to try and do. But I also think, like, with Jaron Curse, with Donovan Wilson, with Malik Hooker, it's not always easy to throw over the middle on Dallas, too, because those safeties are really good and really athletic and tackle an open field and do all that kind of stuff. And, I just think, what is the matchup advantage that Green Bay takes advantage of here? Is it the Dallas defensive tackles, like Aaron Jones having a big day? That's probably the only thing you can lean on. Like, even though I think this offense has played well the last few weeks, um, I'm still betting on, Deron Bland, Stephon Gilmore, these safeties winning against them. I'm betting the defensive ends of Dallas and Parsons and Lawrence to win against the offensive tackles for Green Bay. And I'm betting on just about everything offensively for Dallas, beating everything defensively for Green Bay. So, and not to mention the scheme aspect of that too. So, I think Matt LaFleur is going to have to really be in his bag in this game, and Jordan Love's going to have to play almost perfect. And that's a lot to ask, I think, for a first playoff game for a quarterback. And that's a lot to ask to just play almost a perfect game to be able to beat a team. And that's why I feel confident.
Yeah, I get it. I think most people are going to pick are with you. And again, I'm with you. I have Dallas, but just to play a devil's I mean, the way they move the ball, there's a couple of matchup things I like by Green Bay offensively. I think like we talked about over the middle stuff. I do think you can run some play actions and get guys out of position that way. The other thing is, you talk about your guy Gilmore. Getting up there in age. He's 33 at this point. We have seen him get burned a couple times with speed this season. So while he's played very well, Packers have some fast receivers. And even if Watson isn't able to go, to have some fast receivers. And, kind of what Dallas likes to do is they tend to like to play a lot of zone on first and second down and then shift a man on third down. Maybe you could get a big chunk play. And we've seen Green Bay get those plays down the field. So that's part of why I'm willing to say, again, I gave them 22 points in my predictions. I think they could put up a little bit here.
Yeah, that's definitely the roadmap for it. And to hit those big plays, though, you also have to dodge Micah Parsons into Marcus Lawrence, throw the ball downfield, and hope Stephon Gilmore's lost enough steps on those plays to be able to hit them. And, maybe it does happen. Maybe that's how you beat this team. But I still think there's just a lot to overcome in this game. Um, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's not out of the question to say Green Bay wins, especially the way this offense has played the second half of this season. And if they can score with Dallas, I give them a chance. But it's just that feels like if I'm betting on a defense to get stops in this game, it's Dallas's defense, right? At least even a couple stops. And, I just don't know. I don't know if it's enough to say like, okay, well, Dallas can hang 40 in this game and I wouldn't be shocked, right? Like that's the issue that we're running into.
100%. Yeah. And that's why what I'm saying, I was specifically talking about the Packers offense. The other side of the ball is absolutely a massive benefit. I would have to say, I think Joe Barry in this, I think people kind of talk about this Packers defense like it's like the worst defense in football. Like it's not a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but it's like what, like just bottom 10 defense, but like just barely a bottom 10 defense this season. Like it's not good. It's a bad defense, but I don't know. It's been playing well these past couple weeks, right? It did a very good job against Justin Fields, who had been playing good football as of late. Like, there are things to like about this unit. But yeah, I just think, say what you want about Mike McCarthy, I think he should be able to eat a Joe Barry scheme alive here in this one.
Yeah.
I almost made a joke there, but I won't.
Yeah, I mean, it it definitely seems like there's a roadmap for that, but they have played well. Granted, it was against Justin Fields and Nick Mullins, so I don't know how much to take into that, but I also just I just go back to like the last few games prior to that where it was like Bryce Young and then it was like Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, and like there's just a chance that I think Dak kind of dissects this team, and there is a stigma with Dallas, I think, in the playoffs, or is it a stigma with Dak Prescott in the playoffs, Mike McCarthy in the playoffs, and they're gonna have to overcome that. But I just think that this is a good matchup for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say what you want about Joe Barry. Does seem to do a good job at double teaming your opponent's best player. Like that does seem like to be like the one thing like he like sometimes to a fault will do because in certain situations it's not the right strategy. But like I do expect them to be two guys on CeeDee Lamb all game.
Yes, yeah. Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks are going to have some big plays in this game,
and they will, and the Cowboys will win.
Yeah, that's the roadmap for me. So
yeah,
I think maybe I'm being a little disingenuous. I actually did my points wrong. I was supposed to do 4 and then 3 on the last game, but I already said 5, so I won't change it because that's weak sauce. So I'll stay with the 5. But I meant to say 4. So like it's not like a foregone conclusion to me. I just think that they're the heavy favorites for a reason, and at their best, they're a significantly better team.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, but it's the weird thing too, where it's like, so okay, we both agree Dallas are heavy favorites. It's the weird thing where I feel like all regular season we realize like weird games happen all the time. Like every week there's some crazy upset, and then we get to the playoffs and say a 7-point underdog might as well just go home now.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can absolutely happen. And so I mean, I continue to say like Jordan Love has been really, really good lately, and he is he can obviously flip this game on his own with the way he's played football. I mean, like, especially for how consistent he was to start the year. Like, I mean, seeing this out of him, like, I mean, Bears fans just have to be terrified, right?
I think so. I think, I think that for a lot of reasons, Bears fans should be terrified, perhaps. Hey, got the first overall pick, Caleb Williams. Things are on the up and up for the Bears. Kyle, true or false? This game will be a one-score game heading into the fourth quarter.
I'll say true. Why not?
All right, there you go. Lock it up. One-score game in the fourth quarter before Dallas ultimately wins. But should be a fun one. Let's move on to another game that I don't know. This feels Steelers-Bills. Of course, Steelers and Bills are playing each other. Like it's just like this is like the Bills mass. It's the one matchup where it's like there has to be like a 2 versus 7 seed that's just like an absolute abomination, and like couldn't have wrote it better if you tried.
Yeah. This has just been a real bummer since like JJ Watt being out, or TJ Watt. Why couldn't they have a better name for TJ? Like, why do they have to go double initial names?
I disagree. I think I mean the way that Derek Watt doesn't go by like DJ. I think that you got to make it a thing.
Yeah, they could have done JJ, TJ, and DJ.
Yeah,
maybe a BJ. CJ?
Do we even know is it what is TJ Watt's actual name?
I don't know. I I never actually bothered. I didn't care enough to look it up. First of all, let's get IT on this though.
Okay,
Trent
Trent
Jordan
Jordan Watt.
Watt.
Yeah.
All right.
So how do you
I
think?
don't
Yeah,
know.
the Trent Watt injury is tough.
Yes, Trent Jordan Watt, obviously not being healthy, is a huge factor, right? Like
Hmm.
you have been begging for people to take Alex Highsmith seriously, and Alex Highsmith is a good player, but it's a lot different when TJ Watt's not on the other side, right? So,
Hmm.
Alex Smith, and then not to mention that when Alex Highsmith becomes your best pass rusher, the guy behind TJ Watt has to step up and make plays, and I'm just not convinced that's going to happen. So, um, you know, I think if TJ did play, there was a pathway to where I could see a Steelers upset because, Josh Allen, for everything good we've said about him, this Buffalo offense has turned the ball over this season.
Hmm.
And this Steelers defense still has really good players. And, I know we did mention, obviously, Highsmith and Watt. You have still Minka Fitzpatrick. You still have all these guys that can make some plays. I just don't know. I don't think it's enough. And, yeah, give me Buffalo. I guess I have to do 2 points because I said the wrong number the last time.
Okay, yeah. So then I am. You're going Buffalo of 2. I'm putting all my points on Buffalo here. I am going with, I believe that's 7 points for the Bills. But I will say this, kind of like what I said earlier. Hey, upsets happen all the time. The idea that Pittsburgh can't go into Buffalo and get a victory would be insane to think about, even without Trent Watt. They have a chance here. The To me, the the main way I see the Steelers. Let's just talk about how can the Steelers upset the Bills. That's the right way to phrase this, right? It's not how can who's going to win. It's how can the Steelers pull this upset off. And one thing I'll say about Mike Tomlin, it seems like he's a pretty self-aware coach where he realizes when his team's an underdog and like we'll just play like okay, we're an underdog, we're going to run the ball a lot, we're going to in the first quarter snap the ball with 3 seconds left every play clock, trying to shorten the game as much as possible, kind of thing. I think play a lot of cover 2, force Buffalo to run methodical drives down the field, and also run the ball a lot, which they might be able to have a little bit of success running the ball. I think there is a bit of an advantage. That's probably the one way offensively I could see Pittsburgh finding moving the ball to some degree. Again, I still don't love it to put up a ton of points, but maybe you could put up 17, and if you can get maybe a turnover that gets you an extra 7, like that could be a pathway to. I think that's their pathway to victory.
Yeah, I agree because I think one of the things that kind of underrated about this Buffalo team late in the season is that their coverage unit was lights out.
Mm-hmm.
The last 7 weeks of the season, they were the number 1 coverage unit in football. They were the number 4 defense in football by EPA, and so that's a really tough thing. But as we talked about on Sunday, this Najee Harris Jalen Warren combination has just become really dynamic, and that is something that they may be able to run with and try and attack this Buffalo team with. But it's a big question still. Can you win consistently running the football, because you're going to need it, because I just don't think you can throw in this team right now. So yeah, give me I just think it's going to be really tough to see Pittsburgh consistently move the ball unless they hit big passing plays, and I just don't know if they hit big passing plays in this game.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're right. That is a way. Maybe here's what I think: win a turnover battle by 2 and get a George Pickens like 70-yard bomb. That's like that's like they need to start with like their comeback, their upset thing starts with that.
Yeah, I mean it's going to look very similar to how they beat the Ravens last week. The only problem is that was the Ravens backups and not a starting caliber playoff.
Well, I was thinking like the Ravens the first time maybe.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They did beat the Ravens. Like that's it. This is like, again, upsets can happen. This Steelers team beat the Ravens.
Yeah, twice, 17-10 both times. So yeah, I mean they can absolutely do it. But yeah, it's just it looks like a tough matchup. And with Buffalo the way they're playing defensively and still having Josh Allen, I mean, for all the things we just said about the Steelers defense, Josh Allen's the best player on the field when he matches up against that defense, and that's a problem.
Yeah. Elijah has an interesting chat of, I don't know if this is a hot take, but this is Buffalo's best shot at a Super Bowl appearance in the Josh Allen era. It might be. This might be their best opportunity. I mean, I think Baltimore's really good, but I mean, they're probably have the second best odds right now in the AFC, which Well, I think at one point they were the betting favorite to get to this. I think at one point they were the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl the year that there was that crazy Josh Allen Mahomes back and forth game. I'm with you, Kyle. Like, I just think the Bills should be able to throw all over this Steelers team. I think they should be
Yeah.
able to. I think that if the Steelers try and play cover 2 all game, force everything underneath, I think that's the best strategy. But I still think Buffalo will be able to kind of pick them apart there. And while maybe you can get a turnover or two, I think they need luck to go their way. But it's the Steelers. You can never say never with them.
Oh yeah, they definitely had luck on their way. But yeah, I think this is probably Buffalo's best chance to win the Super Bowl because the Chiefs aren't 100%, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah, because there's less competition. It's easier field in the AFC than we thought it would be.
yeah.
And
So
obviously Burrow's, the Bengals have been a house of horrors for them, and Burrow's injured.
right. So yeah, I think that all of that plays a factor in. Maybe this is their opportunity to go and win it, but we'll see. I think I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch or whatever it is, but yeah, I mean they do have a good shot this season. So I think that they should win this game. They should steamroll. Pittsburgh can be weird. They've had weird things happen in their favor before, but this feels like an easy Bills win. And we've seen Pittsburgh in this spot too the last few years where they sneak into the playoffs and then lose by 30. That feels like it's more likely going to be one of these games.
Yeah, I don't know. It's to me, I'm convinced. I'm super excited to see the Steelers in the playoffs until I actually have to watch them play.
Yeah, then they're down 20 at the end of the first quarter, and you're like, maybe this should have been Indianapolis.
Maybe, yeah, perhaps. The Colts could have been more interesting, but I don't know. That was a 2-7 seed a couple years ago. Colts with Philip Rivers. Kyle. Also, one other thing I wanted to throw at you. Just hear me out. Steelers upset the Bills here. Then you have the Steelers. Then they go to Baltimore. They upset Baltimore again. Kansas City Chiefs. They win both of their games, and once again, AFC Championship in Kansas City.
That would be pretty funny. I was actually thinking you were going to say Joe Flacco against the Steelers for the AFC title game.
Ooh, that'd be good too. Oh, that'd be that. Yeah, I want that to happen.
Joe Flacco beats Baltimore in round 2. Then Joe Flacco faces Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship game in Cleveland.
Yeah, that breaks my brain a little bit just hearing that sentence.
Just an AFC North Armageddon.
Sure, why not?
That would be a blast.
Yeah, should be a fun week. I'm excited for the Super Wildcard Weekend edition. Which it's hilarious that they called it Super Wildcard Weekend because now they're just stuck with it being that forever, right? Like they said, like, oh, this is how we're going to call it, and now it's like they can't just go back to regular Wildcard Weekend. Or maybe they do. I don't know, but I think they're kind of like just slowly trying to go back to like because it's fun for 1 year, but then it's not fun for like 4 years in a row.
Yeah. Now you can't go back from it now because it makes it feel lesser. It's no longer super. So,
what about like NFL Wildcard Round Classic?
NFL Wildcard Round Classic sounds like a Thanksgiving college basketball tournament.
Yeah, possibly.
Brought to you by Bridgestone.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. The super fantastic wildcard weekend.
Yeah, right. Well, that would be when they add an extra playoff team. That's what they'll have to call it, I think.
The extraordinary wildcard weekend.
Okay, we got it. All right, we're understood. Kyle, which game are you most looking forward
to? Probably Dolphins Chiefs.
Yeah, this week, Kyle. I know we're all looking forward to next week, Bills Chiefs, but they have to win first.
Yeah, Dolphins Chiefs. I would say Rams Lions number 2.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Dolphins. And do you have Peacock?
I have Peacock. I watch the Premier League, so I'm actually okay. But I feel for the people that have to buy Peacock to do this.
Yeah, is there a free trial thing? I don't know. Maybe try to do a free trial.
They're probably not gonna. They're gonna take it away for Wildcard Weekend.
Yeah, you're probably
make you pay
right.
for a month. Hey, you can watch some West Ham United soccer for a month while you wait. Your Peacock subscription expires.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
Little Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. There's options. You're plenty of. I don't know. I don't want this to turn into a Peacock plug.
Yeah, they had that one movie that I heard is really good though. The Holdovers.
Oh yeah, I thought we were going Five Nights at Freddy's first, which was going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely not. No, the Paul Giamatti movie, I think is on there. The
yeah.
GOAT.
Okay, yeah, it's a good movie. Wait, is he the
Yeah,
goat?
he's the number one PG in the PG power rankings.
Okay, interesting. Better than Paul George?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti's the man.
I think we say the GOAT. I don't think people realize initially that you mean the GOAT of people who have his initials.
Well, he's a good actor too. I mean, he's up there.
Sure, he's
Maybe
a great
not.
actor. I'm just saying the GOAT is a hot take.
He was John Adams, wasn't he? I mean,
I'm not disrespecting the great Paul Giamatti at all. This is the pro Paul Giamatti, him and Danny DeVito. Those are our guys. We have a type.
yeah, I think I'd prefer Paul Giamatti to Danny DeVito, honestly.
Wow. Okay, everyone in the chat, let us know Paul Giamatti or Danny DeVito. Kyle, let them know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, just search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. And yes, no, I did a whole playoff tier rankings on the channel, so also check that out. I also have detailed reviews of every single game, kind of 2-part reviews of each upcoming game. So if you want more about your favorite team or just a game you're interested in, check that out. It's on the channel. Yeah, Kyle, any final thoughts?
No, my dog's being annoying, so she's gonna say hi real quick.
Okay.
Luna, come here. Look at. Oh, she's not in the camera now. Come here.
Well, we see a tail.
Yeah. There you are.
There we go.
Yeah. Hi, Luna. Everyone say hi to Luna. All right. Bye, Luna.
Okay. Yes. That's why you got to stay to the end of the show. See Kyle's dog. And I'm sorry to all the audio only listeners who just had to sit through 30 seconds of just that.
That wasn't even 30 seconds. What do you want?
Okay, all right. Kyle has to go take care of his dog. Thanks to everybody. We'll be back Sunday. Oh, I meant to mention that. Sunday night, right? We're still going to do the normal time, especially if I'm going to the game Monday. Probably makes sense to do it then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So we can do that. Sounds good.
Okay, so to Sunday. Do you want to do the normal time? We could maybe, probably normal time, right? Because it's 8 o'clock.
There's still a Sunday night game, yeah. So let's stick to midnight. We're fine.
Yeah,
I have the day off the next day anyways.
Yeah, I think next week we might move it up a little, depending on. I think usually it is a little bit earlier in the division round, but yeah. Again, thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.